Welcome to the Smith Publicity All Things Book Marketing Podcast, offering tips, insights, and advice from the best in the publishing industry.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of All Things Book Marketing. I'm your host, Olivia McCoy, and you may have noticed that we're now on video. This is a new adventure that we're going to go on together, but now you can listen and watch us anywhere that you consume podcasts. For this first episode, we have very special guest, Miral Sattar, and Miral uses data and analytics for book launches and is here to talk to us today about promoting and selling books on TikTok. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here, Olivia.
Yeah, of course. I'd love to have you start by telling us more about your work and how you help authors.
Sure. So currently what I do right now is I do database book launches for authors and also a lot of influencer marketing too. So working with TikTokers, we're having authors have a strategy in place for working with Instagram influencers and kind of making sure that those strategies are effective. And I also help. So how I actually met Dan Smith many years ago is we used to exhibit at the same conferences. So back then I ran a marketplace called BibliaCrunch, which connected editorial services with publishing professionals. And then that has kind of transformed into the business that I run today, which has been doing really well since 2020. So
congratulations. That's so exciting.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I am really eager to jump in. Oh, yes, go ahead.
And I'm also a kids book talker, which I kind of just stumbled on into the space. So I like finding inclusive books for kids. I have 3 kids myself, and I was always recommending books to my friends. So I started posting on Instagram, and then when I heard about TikTok, I started posting on TikTok as well. And I've gotten a tiny but influential following. I've helped some authors go viral. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your books. What are the titles?
So they're not my books specifically. So I run a podcast for a kids fiction podcast, which features reimagined fairy tales. So we have a brown Rapunzel, or Rapunzel with brown hair. We have a Snow White who is from where? So therefore she's basically she's not white. So she's Snow White from Sudan. So
okay.
And the podcast teaches kids about culture and different types of things, and the lesson is not about just finding a prince and being saved, but also that princesses can save themselves. So I've mostly gotten my audience through TikTok. And I've leveraged that knowledge to actually help authors also sell their books as well, because the strategies are pretty similar, or the storytelling strategies are pretty similar on TikTok for books versus podcasts.
And what's the name of the podcast?
Oh, Barely Bear Reimagined Fairy Tales.
Barely Bear. That's so cute.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have the link in the description, so anyone that wants to check it out definitely should.
Okay, awesome. Wonderful. Great.
So let's get down to book talk, because that is a question that my authors ask me about all the time, and it changes so rapidly. It's hard to know how to answer their questions. So tell us first, what is book talk and how can it help authors?
Okay, so book talk is a sub-community within the TikTok platform, and TikTok is a short form video social media tool and it's different from other platforms. Let's say you have Instagram or you have Facebook, where you already need to have a following. The amazing and beautiful thing about TikTok is you can actually, every video that gets posted has a chance to go viral and has a chance to get a following. And the book talk sub-community, which grew popular in 2020 during the pandemic, readers started recommending books that they love. So that's how Colleen Hoover, I'm sure y'all know, gained her success, and a bunch of other books too. Brandon Sanderson, he joined TikTok, and within like a few days he had hundreds of thousands of followers. So it is a sub community where authors we're filled with readers and filled with authors. So there's a hashtag that gets used sometimes. It's called the Book Talk hashtag. So if anyone is curious about it, create an account on TikTok. Make sure you read the terms of service just so you know what you're getting into, and then search the Book Talk hashtag. And I actually just checked right before our chat, and the Book Talk hashtag has 115 billion uses, and it's doubled since I checked it last summer.
Wow.
So there's an audience, and there's a huge audience, and people love books, and they love books in all different types.
So you mentioned Colleen Hoover and Brandon Sanderson, which are huge genre fiction authors in romance and fantasy, respectively. But they kind of already had a following before their fame on TikTok, which then, almost doubled their following at least. Do you have to be super well known to find success on TikTok?
No. So back to what I mentioned before is every video that gets posted on TikTok, if you can engage, and they show it to maybe like 100 people or a couple hundred people, and if people keep watching, then they show it to more people. So every video that you have is kind of like a lottery ticket that has a chance to go viral. So if you're posting consistently and you have the right formula and the right strategy, then you will find an audience on TikTok. And the important thing about TikTok, what I always tell authors, it's not so important to have viral videos every day, but to post consistency. So even if each video has only 1,000 views, you will sell books for those 1,000 views, and you will notice that your book sales do go up. And it's something that you could do on your own once you master it, and once it clicks, it's an easy marketing strategy. Some authors that I talk to are really uncomfortable being on video, but there are ways to do TikToks without being on videos, and there's a lot of different strategies that you could use as well. So one author, and I'm sure everyone already knows about him, but the author of Stone Maidens, his daughter-in-law posted a video, or his daughter posted a video about his process and how he'd been writing, and within weeks the video had 50 million views, and I think he's well over 70,000 book sales in 2 weeks, and his book had been out for over a decade. So, and that was the first video that she made, so she knew how to tell a good story. It wasn't YA, it wasn't romance, so it was kind of outside your normal genre.
I remember when that blew up as a news story in the industry, everyone was talking about it. We shared it around the office even, and we're talking about how amazing it was and just the magic of book talk. That one is really cool because it wasn't one of the standard genres that we hear about going viral on book talk. We hear all the time about romance, and fantasy has a big place there, but you don't have to just be those kind of really well-known genre fiction. You can go into other fiction, but also nonfiction too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So 1 in 5 people are on TikTok right now. So and I think more people come for books on TikTok than any other platform. TBD whether more than some of the big retail platforms, but for search, Book Talk is where the readers are, and you can get any reader. So I have one author. She's a nonfiction women's health writer, and she's 80 years old, and she's like, well, there's no one my age on TikTok. And I was like, wrong. you're just not, you haven't trained your algorithm yet. You're not seeing who you want to see because you're probably watching cat videos. Dump the cat videos, and then we'll get you set up. So this is her book. It's called Sideline: How Women Manage and Mismanage Their Health. It's nonfiction, and she's found a really good audience on TikTok. And it's just a matter of telling a story in a way that people can connect with. And also there's also you have to train your TikTok so the audience that sees your book is the audience you want to see. So if you're looking at cat videos all the time, then it's going to show your book to people, cat videos, and then it's going to die after 100 views because people who are usually watching cat videos, only a small percent, they're looking for more cat videos to watch. So training the algorithm is part of it. So I can actually, there is a video transition that we did for her, and it was really, really fun. Her name is Grandma Gaines, and she's 80 years old. She works out, and then she shares her wellness tips. And she's so excited about TikTok now, because before she was doing TikTok, her book wasn't really selling as well. And then now that she's starting doing TikTok, she'll email me every week. She's like, "Did you see I got sales?" I was like, "Yes, I did see. I did see that you're getting more sales, or there's like a huge, huge sales bump because of TikTok."
I love
And then there's
that.
another book. So I also am a kid's book talker, like I mentioned before, and this is a book that I did a TikTok about. And my hook, part of TikTok is having a good hook, which hooks people in right away. So I said something like, "No, Rapunzel doesn't need to have blonde hair." And then that was my hook. And that video went viral. And then the author like sold a lot of books just from that one TikTok video. So it's really exciting. It's exciting to see. And then I'm able to track that too, because I set up affiliate links just to see how it performed, and that book performed really, really well.
Okay.
I
And so,
still I made that video a year ago, and I still get comments on it every day. Where can I get the book? How do I get the book? So it's really exciting to see
wow. So hook is kind of
engagement.
like a headline in that way then.
A hook is kind of what hooks you in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you
And
want kind of something quippy, catchy.
yeah, or just something that would make you want to watch the video more. So when you're watching, so I urge everyone who has a book to just go on to Book Talk, search the hashtag, and see what made you watch the end of the video. Because if you have a video that's 30 seconds long and people don't make it to second 3, they're going to stop showing it to everybody. But if you have a video that's 7 seconds long and most people have watched to second 5 or until the end, they're going to keep showing your video, because they're like, "Hey, there's a lot of engagement on this one, we'll keep showing." So every video has a chance to go viral. So every video is kind of like your lottery ticket. So, and also the more videos that you post, that is your chance to go viral. So, but you should post, you should come up with a strategy, figure out how much time you want to dedicate. I don't recommend being on TikTok every day. I queue up all my videos, and also for all my clients, on Mondays, and then I just post them throughout the day. Otherwise, you're on TikTok 24/7, and that's not good for anybody, and it's not good for anyone's mental health. So
Yep, TikTok is definitely a time drain. I know I've spent many hours binging on TikTok, more than I should, definitely. How much time should authors be investing, would you say, on average? How many videos per week?
Well, it depends, right? It depends on what you're comfortable with. So the important thing is to come up with a strategy, get comfortable with the strategy, and then increase it or decrease it. Because if you tell somebody, "Oh, you should be doing 2 to 4 videos a day," that's gonna stress authors out. But I say start with 1 to 2 videos a week, and then research, and then kind of see what does well. And then when you're comfortable, start queuing them up, and then that will be a better strategy for you. And
So there's not,
it's more mental as well. Yeah.
yes, consistency over
Yeah. Yeah. And then the
quantity.
same messaging, like don't post about. So a mistake that I see authors post about is, if it's not in line with who your audience wants to see, then no one's going to watch that video. I had a video that's still going viral, and it's kind of annoying me that it's going viral, because it has nothing to do with my mission or my book. So when people click on the video and then look at the profile, they're like, "Oh, this has nothing to do with it." And it's a video that I posted about this essential oil that you could find at a major beauty store and it's $25. But I just posted, I was like, just save your money, go to any mosque or any neighborhood, in Queens or Harlem, and you can get the same thing for $5, and you're directly supporting individual creators too. So there is a lot of heated conversation going on in those comments, and I kind of wish I hadn't done the video because it's not really growing my following, and it doesn't really have it's not really reaching my demographics. So, and while the rest of my account is books and inclusive stories and fairy tales. So I would recommend not doing that because I'm answering every comment, and there are a lot of comments.
Okay, so you're kind of recommending then to find your niche, find what works, and stick to it?
Yes, exactly. Stick to your niche, stick to your mission. Come up with the 2 to 3 topics that you're going to talk about, and that way, and then come up with your hashtags too. That way you can measure the success of those topics and those hashtags. So if you're doing something like if you're doing role playing and you have the hook and that does really well, then you can keep posting those videos and they'll keep getting you sales.
Okay. Hypothetical. What if you have an author who pens both fiction and nonfiction books? And so 2 different genres, 2 different topics entirely. Would you recommend that they have 2 different TikToks as well then for 2 different audiences?
I would say pick one, master that one, and then when you've mastered that one, then start marketing the other one with a different account, because the people who are going to read your nonfiction stuff are very different than the book talk audience. And also sometimes people fall into the book talk hole, and that's what a lot of authors I know do, is they create a separate account for separate books, or they'll create a separate account with another author and they'll just promote those 2 books that are similar genres. It's better to promote consistently in one account than to mix it up, because it confuses the algorithm. TikTok won't know who to show your content to. So you kind of never have a set audience.
Okay. And for other social media sites, we usually recommend that the book isn't the only thing you're posting about, that you're also sharing your life and behind the scenes, and the book is kind of sprinkled in throughout so as not to exhaust your audience. Is that the same for TikTok?
It is the same, except in TikTok, it's a little different. The marketing is a little different. Like you can't take the same video that you posted on Instagram or Facebook and repost it on TikTok. It's not gonna, most likely it won't do well. So there's different types of book talks that you could do. It could be about your characters, it could be about craft writing. But if you're a lot, what I see a lot of people do is they're typing on their computers and then they're telling a story about how long they spend, or like a day in the life of a writer. Like those work really well. But if I had an author who kept making this mistake, is she would make a video and then she would just transition to the screen of her book, but there was no natural transition to the book. So TikTok was then suppressing it, and then she included a link as well. TikTok doesn't like any of that stuff. So you need to figure out how to talk about your book and then also tell a story as well. So that's kind of the hard part, I think. And I think it takes authors a few weeks to figure that out. But once you figure that out, it's an amazing selling tool.
How familiar do you have to be with technology to have a TikTok account do well?
I don't think you need to be that familiar, because you could do everything within the app.
Okay. So you all learn it from scratch.
Yeah, you go in. Well, you should be able to record a video, and you should be able to record a good video of yourself, and you should know the basics of good lighting. So basics, like don't record, like if I move, like, so there's a window right to the right of me. If I move my laptop and I was sitting in front of the video, then I would be washed out. So I would not look good at all. So make sure that you are sitting in a well-lit place. I generally recommend having the background bookcases, or anywhere, record your video where you have bookcases, and then getting a ring light, because the quality of the videos really, really stands out if you're doing book talks versus just, recording videos. But I mean, there's every chance. I've recorded videos where I'm walking home from after dropping my daughter to an activity, and it's 5 o'clock and it's dark, but you can barely see me, but I'm talking but I'm walking at the same time. So people are like, oh, why is she walking and recording a video? She must have something really important to say. Or it could be something like, if you write about children's books, you could tell an interesting story about what some kids said about your book, or whether they hated it or whether they loved it. It's just, it all comes down to good storytelling and also doing the right transition to show your book.
And that does follow one of the trends that I'm seeing in 2023, especially, is that authenticity over production. Like, yes, it's nice to have good lighting and know how to record a high quality video, but anything over everything else, you really just want to have a good story, have a good hook, talk about something people are interested in, and be yourself. And that's what's really resonating, it sounds like.
Yes, and being consistent. So if you look at the Grandma Gaines video that I'll share, there's also trends that happen in book talk also, and you can kind of copy the trend. You can kind of leverage those trends for your book. So the Grandma Gaines video, I don't know if you want me to play it right now, but it has her working out, and then when you're closing the computer, then it transitions into a book, and that trend did really, really well for authors. Have you seen that one?
I haven't actually. That's exciting.
Yeah. It was really popular from like November through like February, and I was going to test it again. I don't know if people are still doing that, but the thing with trends is, like, after a few months, if you find one thing that works, just keep using that same trend, because people will keep watching your content.
Interesting. Okay. So because TikTok is kind of a mimic app, it's okay to kind of you reuse those trends that you're seeing everywhere.
Well, that's why they're called trends, because everyone's doing them. Yeah.
Fair. Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Yeah. You just adapt it to your book and your style. So.
And then a lot of our authors are really interested in numbers.
Right.
So what numbers should they be focusing on TikTok? Are we looking at followers, likes, comments?
No. So you want to look. So I guess it depends. So social proof is a huge, huge, huge part. And I think now with Instagram and TikTok and all these other social media platforms, the first thing, a couple of years ago, when you tell someone about your book, the first thing they would do is like, oh, let me check your Amazon page. Let me check your Barnes & Noble page. If you didn't have a good cover, if you didn't have a good description, and you didn't have a certain amount of reviews, they'd keep scrolling. You have like a few seconds to engage that person and get them to buy your book. But now, let's say if you're looking, or even if a publisher is looking or an agent is looking at your book, they're going to check your social proof, and they're going to check your social media to see how well you can sell your book. Like, do you have an engaged audience? So it's not just about the views, it's not just about the followers. It's like, okay, every time this author posts a video, they get views, but then they also get comments. So you have to train yourself to make sure that people leave comments, and you can do that by asking a question at the end. Not just any question, but just a question that's related to your book. There's one podcast that I did. It was it was a Cinderella story, and in the Cinderella, it was based in Morocco, and the Cinderella story, she forgave her stepsisters and she let them live with her. And then I had so many moms respond on social media, like, maybe we thought Cinderella was just too generous. I would have just kind of kicked them out, or people were really, really, really engaged. So then I asked a question. I was like, do you think she should have let her sisters stay or leave? And people were like, she should have kicked them out. So it's I was surprised, because it was a kids podcast too. So, but it was interesting, but because I asked, and then people were like, oh, I hated that story because I definitely don't think she should have let her sister stay. So that's
wild.
Like, oh.
You would not expect that from a kids podcast with a bunch of parents watching. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So what are some last minute strategies for promoting TikTok? And should you be promoting your TikTok outside of TikTok?
You can. I mean, I cross post my TikToks to Facebook and sometimes Instagram Reels if they're relevant, and also on Twitter. But that's kind of only to let them know that I have a TikTok account. So it doesn't actually, if I post on Facebook, it just lets my Facebook friends know that I have a TikTok account, but I don't think it actually helps the virality factor. So, but the key thing is staying consistent, follow the book talk hashtag, and just start learning, and then see what other people are doing in the space. And I mean, I think it's like the most exciting time to publish a book in 2020. Also, just a side note, in 2020, in the beginning of 2020, I was like, should I switch careers? Should I leave book publishing? And that's when everything exploded. The bookstores came back largely because of book talkers and TikTok. And that's not something that you see a lot mentioned, but that's why they're coming back. You go to Barnes and Nobles, you don't see an Instagram table, you don't see a Twitter table, you don't see a Facebook table, but you see TikTok tables. And it is largely because of this platform, and there's so many more opportunities. And there's not any one audience. We're like, well, I'm not a fantasy writer, I'm not a romance writer. I was like, no, 1 in 5 people are on TikTok. Everyone is on TikTok. If my 80-year-old client can find her audience on TikTok, I find kids, parents on TikTok. You just have to refine your strategy and kind of figure out who has similar books, and then just see what they're doing, and you will do well and be consistent.
Well, thank you for all of this great information. Where can our listeners and now watchers, where can they follow you to learn more?
So I'm Miral Reads on TikTok, and I'm Miral Reads on Instagram. And I also have a Substack where I post marketing tips. So it's miralsattar.substack.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was so great talking with you.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Smith Publicity All Things Book Marketing Podcast. To reach us and learn about our many services, visit smithpublicity.com or send us an email to info@smithpublicity.com.